Hello everyone, I'm Timothy. I'm a producer and on the journey of making a world-class tabletop web series. This is the 5th episode of Making the Show, and so far I haven't really defined what a tabletop web series is. So what is a tabletop web series? It's a show with a cast. The story is half written and half improvised. The cast of the show, instead of following a script, get to choose their own adventure together. And there aren't any do-overs. The decisions they make along the way are permanent. As for the tabletop part, instead of being on location as in a movie, all of the action takes place in a single room, narrated by the cast. So that reality has weight to it, the world is facilitated by the use of a game. A game is used so that the interactions are bound by rules and also introduce chance to simulate the high stakes of life. In our case, the game is a modified version of Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. So let's now take the whole concept and break it down into an outline. A tabletop web series in parts. The way I have to organize the web series in my head just to keep track of everything is to break it up into 5 parts. We have the story, the cast, the production, communication, and the business. These are the main 5. Everything else is a subdivision of these. Story is most important because this is a show. This is about telling a story that's compelling, that connects with people, that's a good story. Obviously, a component part of that is going to be writing. In developing the World Bible for Ben Tier, the world that the show takes place in, I've written so far 124 pages. But because the show is done dynamically and the other half is improvised as we tell the story together, that means I also have one unexpected thing, which is bookkeeping. I didn't expect there to be a lot of bookkeeping associated with this because how much could you really come up with on the fly? Well, if I've written 124 pages for the Story Bible, I've also written 60 pages of notes of things that have developed as we've been playing. Next most important thing is the cast. That includes not only the Dungeon Master, myself, I play the narrator as well as the non-player characters, the NPCs. Those are the different individuals that the characters or the cast will encounter as we play. That's everything from innkeepers to kings, queens, servants, monsters, and all manner of strange oddity. And a big part of the cast is casting. It's finding the right people. Finding people who can work together, people who enjoy telling a story in this fantasy world, and also people who are into the long haul because a campaign can last a couple of years. And once you have the cast, they then need characters. The people they're going to embody. These characters need a history, families, goals, dreams, foibles, flaws. Everything that goes into a person you can connect with, as well as development. Once they have characters, those characters then have to be brought into the world itself so that they're just as much a part of the world as the world is a part of them. That way you don't have something out of place like a cowboy in a medieval castle. And that makes sure as the stories are being told that they make sense, even if they follow their own set of rules. Then we get to the biggest one, production. This one's both wonderful and terrifying. Production includes a whole lot. We've got the audio, making sure everyone's audible. I just put a sandbag behind the door. Hopefully it stops doing that. We've got the cameras, and there's a lot of cameras in order to film this correctly. Then we've got the workflow, making sure there's a plan for what to do afterwards. Graphics, and this includes maps and also helpful things on screen so that people watching have an idea of what's going on. Editing, once you have all the footage, putting it together in a way that's compelling. The set, making sure the backgrounds all look good, that it's sound treated, there's no echoes or weird noises, that everything works well, it's not too hot, not too cold. The art direction, making sure everything's cohesive. Props. Physical props are a great way to bring the cast into their characters so they feel grounded in the world. Also, they just look cool. 3D terrain. The tactical aspect of a tabletop game requires you to be able to show the combat in a way that makes sense so that the characters can make the correct choice, can understand where they are in space, so that the small miniatures being pushed around are being pushed around correctly. And the infrastructure. Having enough storage for a server to be able to hold an enormous amount of footage that has to be edited together all the time. Then we have the communication. This is making sure that people know about the show and know about everything Brooklyn Quarter's doing. We've got our website, brooklynquarter.com. Our Discord server, always a fun time. Our social media accounts. Our mailing list. And YouTube channel. I think I need to rearrange this board a little bit. And the business side, because we have to be able to support the work we're doing. And that's done through Patreon, which you can find at patreon.com/BrooklynQuarter, and sponsorships. We don't have any of those yet. And here we have it, the highly complicated tabletop web series in parts. It's kind of hard to actually make out the main subject. This is a perfect example of something turning out slightly differently than you had it in your mind. Hold on, let me make these a little more clear. There we go, that's better. So far in the 4 episodes of making the show, we have looked at 3D terrain with painting the miniatures and audio with sound treating the room. There's a whole lot left. One of the things Danielle and I have really loved about living in Los Angeles is all the available hiking. And recently we went on this glorious hike up into the hills. If you're watching this, please like, subscribe, and click the little bell notification to know when the next Making the Show is coming out. Also, all the other videos that we're working on, like the whole point of this behind-the-scenes take on us making a future show. And if you want to support us, the best way to do that is through Patreon. A huge, huge thank you to our patrons who help make this channel possible. And that's it. I will see you next week.